Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Wanderer and stared at the holographic star map floating before him. He had been a freighter captain for 12 years now, hauling cargo across the vast expanse of council space. During those years, he had visited dozens of worlds, traded with creatures that looked like insects and others that swam through the air like fish. He had learned 7 different languages and mastered the art of navigating between star systems without getting lost. But there was one thing he had never understood, and it bothered him more with each passing day. There was a massive empty zone on every star map he had ever seen. It stretched for 200 light years in every direction, and at its center sat Earth, his home. The place where humanity had been born and raised before they discovered how to travel between the stars. No trade routes crossed through this zone. No exploration missions ventured into it. No alien government claimed any part of it as their territory. It was as if someone had drawn a circle around human space and declared it forbidden. Jake had asked about it many times. Every time he brought it up, the conversation died. Aliens who had been friendly moments before would suddenly remember urgent business elsewhere. The insectoid Vryn would flatten their antennae against their heads in what Jake had learned meant fear. The aquatic Delphi would change color and swim away as fast as their suits would carry them. Even the proud Corthians, who feared nothing and conquered everything they could reach, would change the subject when human territory came up. His first officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter, had noticed it too. She was younger than Jake, only 6 years out of the academy, but she was sharp and observant. Last month at Kelros Station, she had tried to file a flight plan that would take them within 50 light years of Earth. The Vryn dockmaster had physically jumped backward when he saw the route. His whole body had trembled as he stamped a rejection on the paperwork. "That route is closed," the dockmaster had said. He would not explain why. He would not even look at Amy after that. He just kept his eyes down and waited for them to leave his office. Jake studied the map again. He zoomed out to see the bigger picture. What he saw made his stomach twist. Every major civilization in the galaxy had military installations facing toward human space. Not outward toward potential enemies. Not sideways toward rival powers. They all pointed inward, toward Earth, like they were containing something, or keeping something locked away. "Captain," Amy said from her station. Her voice was tight with tension. "We just received a priority alpha transmission from the Council Assembly. They want us at the Central Forum immediately." Jake frowned. In 12 years of hauling freight, he had never been contacted directly by the Council. Priority Alpha was a code reserved for emergencies, for declarations of war, for moments when the entire galaxy hung in the balance. "Did they say what this is about?" he asked. "No, sir," Amy replied. "But the encryption level is way beyond anything I have ever seen. This is serious." The Wanderer dropped out of hyperspace 3 hours later. Before them hung the Central Forum, a massive ring structure that housed representatives from 47 different species. It was the bureaucratic heart of galactic civilization. Every major decision affecting council space was made here. Treaties were signed in its chambers. Wars were declared from its podiums, and now Jake Morrison, a simple freight captain, had been summoned to appear before it. As their ship approached the docking bay, Jake could not shake the feeling that his comfortable life was about to end. Whatever waited for him inside that structure would change everything. He could feel it in his bones. They were escorted through gleaming corridors by armed guards. The guards were Corthian, tall and reptilian with scales that shifted color based on their mood. Right now, their scales showed patterns of anxiety. These were trained soldiers, warriors who had faced combat on a dozen worlds, and they were nervous about something. The council chamber was designed to intimidate. 47 species sat in ascending tiers that formed a massive amphitheater. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others wore environmental suits filled with methane or hydrogen sulfide. A few existed as energy patterns contained in magnetic bottles. All of them were watching as Jake and Amy were led to a platform at the center of the room. The High Arbiter was a Corthian named Vexillar. He was easily 3 meters tall with scales that had gone silver with age. When he spoke, his voice was translated into perfect English by systems Jake could not see. "Captain Morrison," Vexillar said, "you have repeatedly requested permission to establish trade routes through Sector 0. You have asked why this region is restricted. You have questioned our decisions regarding human territory. The time has come to give you answers." Jake felt Amy tense beside him. He kept his own voice steady. With respect, High Arbiter, I am simply trying to understand why my homeworld is treated like a quarantine zone. We have been members of the Council for 30 years. We have honored every treaty. Why are we isolated? The lights in the chamber dimmed. A holographic display materialized above the platform. It showed a star system Jake did not recognize. 3 planets orbited a yellow sun. Each planet was marked with symbols Jake had seen in history books. They belonged to the Jarn Dominion, a civilization that had fallen over 2 centuries ago. Because the Council remembers what your species did, Vexillar said. His voice carried weight that made Jake shiver. We remember what humanity is capable of when pushed to the edge of extinction. The hologram changed. Now it showed a blue and green planet, oceans and continents, white clouds swirling in familiar patterns. Jake recognized it immediately. Earth. But this was Earth from long ago, before the cities grew so large, before humanity reached for the stars. 217 years ago, Vexillar continued, the Jarn Dominion was the dominant power in this sector. They were conquerors, slavers. They destroyed any civilization that resisted them, and they set their sights on your world. The hologram showed sleek alien warships entering the solar system, thousands of them. Their hulls were dark and angular, covered in weapons that could crack continents apart. The Jarn sent 3,000 ships to conquer Earth, Vexillar said. They expected no resistance from a species that had barely reached its own moon. They were wrong. Jake watched as the hologram played out a battle he had never heard of. The Jarn fleet advanced on Earth. Human defenders launched everything they had, missiles, laser platforms, nuclear weapons. Nothing worked. The Jarn shields absorbed every attack. Their weapons carved through human defenses like they were made of paper. Then something changed. Space itself began to twist and fold. The Jarn ships closest to Earth started to disappear. Not destroyed, not retreating, simply gone, erased from existence. The remaining ships tried to pull back, but the effect spread faster than they could move. One by one, in groups of dozens, then hundreds, the Jarn warships vanished. Your species created a weapon that should not exist, Vexillar said quietly. You weaponized a black hole. You created a contained singularity that consumed an entire invasion fleet. Then you collapsed it without destroying your own star system. The mathematics alone should have been impossible for a civilization at your development level. Jake felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. A black hole weapon. Humanity had built something that broke the laws of physics. And then they had somehow made everyone forget about it. The Jarn Empire fell within 10 years, Vexillar continued. Not because you attacked them, but because every species they had enslaved heard what happened at Earth. They heard that a primitive world had deleted a fleet from existence. The revolts began immediately. The Jarn were hunted to extinction by those they had conquered. But that is not why we fear you, Vexillar said. His eyes locked onto Jake with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. I fear you because in the final moments before their fleet was destroyed, the Jarn detected something else, something worse. A weapon that made the singularity look like a toy. They ordered an immediate retreat. They abandoned 3,000 ships rather than face what was coming from your world. The hologram showed sensor readings that spiked beyond measurable levels, numbers that made no sense, energy signatures that violated everything Jake knew about physics. We have spent 2 centuries trying to understand what that weapon was, Vexillar said. We still do not know, but it is why every fleet in the galaxy gives your territory a wide berth. It is why traders refuse to approach human space. It is why the stars themselves whisper your name in fear. Jake found his voice. That was 200 years ago. We are not the same species we were then. Are you not? Vexillar asked. His tone suggested he knew something Jake did not. Captain Morrison, we do not fear what you have done. We fear what you might do if you ever feel threatened again. Because humanity has proven one terrible truth. When faced with extinction, your species does not just fight back. You break reality itself to survive. Jake Morrison and Amy Carter were given quarters in the diplomatic section of the Central Forum. The rooms were comfortable, but Jake knew they were not really guests. They were being held here until the council decided what to do with them. Now that they knew the truth about humanity's past, everything had changed. Amy sat at a desk with a datapad in her hands. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen as she searched through historical archives. I have been looking at Earth records from the time period Vexler mentioned, she said. There is a gap. From 2038 to 2041, every major government on Earth went dark. No news, no public records, no communication between nations. The official story is a global infrastructure collapse, but the timing is too perfect. They erased the war from history, Jake said. He stood at the window looking out at the stars. An entire alien invasion, 3,000 ships, a weapon that could destroy reality, all of it buried and forgotten. The door chimed. Amy's hand moved toward where her sidearm usually was before she remembered they had been forced to surrender all weapons when they arrived. Jake called out permission to enter. A human woman walked in. She looked about 60 years old with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a uniform Jake did not recognize. The insignia on her collar showed 3 stars arranged in a triangle pattern. Something about the pattern made Jake's eyes hurt if he looked at it too long. Captain Morrison, Lieutenant Carter, the woman said. My name is Director Helen Grant. I represent an organization that does not officially exist. I am here because the Council has done something unprecedented. They told humans about their own history. That changes everything. Who are you? Amy demanded. Grant sat down without being invited. I am part of the Continuity Office. We were established in 2041 after the Jarn attack. Our job is to maintain the weapons and knowledge that saved humanity. We make sure that if extinction comes again, we will be ready. Jake felt cold. The weapons still exist. Of course they exist, Grant said, like it was obvious. The Singularity Projector is in a facility under the lunar surface. We test it once every decade to make sure it still works. As for the other weapon, the one that scared the Jarn so badly they ran away, it has never been turned off. Amy stood up fast enough that her chair fell over. You are telling us there is a doomsday weapon that has been running for 200 years. Not running, Grant corrected, waiting. And before you ask what it is, you need to understand something about humanity. We are not just good at physics and engineering. We are impossibly good at it. Better than any species has a right to be. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed graphs and charts comparing technological development across different species. Every species develops technology at a predictable rate, Grant explained. It depends on their brain structure, their sensory organs, their mathematical abilities. But humans break the pattern. We should not have reached orbital flight when we did. We should not have achieved fusion power for another century. We should not have been able to create the singularity weapon at all. What are you saying? Jake asked. Grant's expression grew serious. I am saying that humanity's evolutionary advantage is pattern recognition. When human scientists look at the universe, we see connections that should not be visible. We understand things that should take thousands of years to figure out. Every major breakthrough feels less like discovery and more like remembering something we always knew. The Jarn invasion made this gift stronger, Grant continued. When faced with extinction, the greatest minds on Earth did not just think faster. They thought differently. They looked at quantum mechanics and space-time and they saw something impossible, something no other species has ever perceived. What did they see? Amy whispered. They saw that consciousness affects reality, Grant said. Not as a metaphor, as literal fact. Human observation does not just measure quantum states. It influences them. And if one human mind can influence one particle, imagine what 8 billion human minds could do if they worked together. Jake understood then, and the understanding made him sick. The weapon that scared the Jarn, it was not a weapon at all. No, Grant confirmed. It was 8 billion human minds connected through a quantum field generator, all of them focused on a single purpose. The Jarn sensors detected Earth's quantum probability field becoming rigid. They realized that any ship sent toward Earth would simply cease to exist. Not because we would destroy them. Because we would make their existence impossible. We would edit reality to remove them. That is insane, Amy said. You cannot just erase things from existence, but we did, Grant said. For 72 hours, humanity operated as a single consciousness with the power to rewrite the universe. We did not destroy the Jarn fleet. We made it so the fleet had never existed in the first place. Reality adjusted. 3,000 ships vanished from history. The Jarn who survived only remembered them as bad dreams. Jake's mind was reeling. Why did we not keep using it? Why did we not conquer the galaxy? Grant laughed, but there was no humor in it. Because the side effects were catastrophic. 17,000 people died from brain hemorrhages. Another 100,000 went catatonic and never woke up. The psychological trauma of touching infinity. of feeling your individual mind dissolve into a collective whole. It broke people. We won the war, but we almost destroyed ourselves doing it. So the weapon that terrifies the galaxy, Amy said slowly, is humanity's ability to hack reality through collective consciousness. And you are saying it is still active. The quantum field generator is still broadcasting, Grant confirmed. At very low power, it maintains a loose connection between all humans. That is why Earth feels different when aliens visit. Why humans sometimes report feeling connected to each other in ways they cannot explain. We kept the field active as a failsafe. If Earth faces extinction again, we can amplify it to full power within hours. Does the Council know this? Jake asked. They suspect, Grant said. They have seen the evidence, but they cannot prove it. The phenomenon is invisible to non-human consciousness. To them, space around Earth just feels wrong. Like reality is thicker there, more resistant to change. Grant stood to leave. Captain, the Council brought you here to send a message through you. They want humanity to know they understand our capabilities. They want us to understand that the containment zone is not an insult. It is a courtesy. They are giving us space because they are terrified we might feel threatened. What happens now? Jake asked. Now you go back to your ship, Grant said. You file your report. You never speak of this conversation again. You will spend the rest of your life knowing that every species in the galaxy walks carefully around humanity, not because of what we have done, but because of what we might do if we feel cornered. She stopped at the door. The stars whisper our name in fear, Captain. Make sure we never give them a reason to do more than whisper. After Grant left, Jake and Amy sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Amy spoke. Are we the monsters? She asked. Jake thought about the 17,000 humans who had died activating the weapon. He thought about the Jarn fleet erased from existence. He thought about 8 billion minds merged into something that could rewrite reality itself. We are survivors, he said finally. We are a species that looked at extinction and said no. Whether that makes us monsters or heroes, I guess that depends on who you ask. They stayed at the Central Forum for 3 more days. During that time, Jake noticed things he had missed before. The way guards would take longer routes to avoid walking near human quarters. The way alien diplomats would leave rooms when humans entered. The way every species treated them with elaborate politeness that barely concealed deep fear. On the 3rd day, they were cleared to leave. As the Wanderer pulled away from the forum, Jake looked back at the massive structure. Somewhere in there, 47 different species were having conversations about humanity. About whether the sleeping giant at the center of Sector 0 could be trusted. About what would happen if that giant ever woke fully. Set course for Earth, Jake told his navigator. I think it is time I visited home again. As they jumped into hyperspace, Jake wondered what he would say to the people there. Would he tell them they were living on top of a doomsday weapon? That their minds were all connected through invisible quantum fields? That the rest of the galaxy feared them more than anything else in the universe? Probably not, he decided. Some truths were too heavy to share. Some burdens had to be carried alone. He was one of the few humans who knew what his species really was. What they were capable of, what they had already done. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear, and now Jake understood why. He understood it in his bones, in his DNA. In the quantum field that connected him to every other human alive, they were not just survivors. They were reality's exception. The species that broke the rules when the rules did not suit them. And as long as no one threatened them again, the rest of the galaxy could continue existing in a universe where physics still made sense. But if someone did threaten them, if someone pushed humanity to the edge again, well, Jake had seen what happened last time. He had seen the recordings of 3,000 ships vanishing from existence. He had heard about the weapon that was even worse than that. The galaxy was right to whisper. Right to fear, right to stay far away from human territory, because humanity had proven beyond. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison's visit to the Central Forum. He had returned to his shipping routes, hauling cargo between star systems, trying to live a normal life. But nothing felt normal anymore. Every time he looked at other humans, he wondered if they could feel it. The quantum field that connected them all, the invisible thread that could be pulled tight to turn 8 billion individuals into one reality-warping consciousness. Amy Carter had requested a transfer. She was on a research vessel now, studying stellar formations far from any inhabited space. She had sent Jake one message after leaving. It said simply, I cannot pretend the universe makes sense anymore. I need distance from all of this. Jake understood. He felt the same way most days. But he had nowhere to run. He was a captain. He had responsibilities. So he kept hauling freight and tried not to think about what slept beneath Luna's surface. Tonight, the Wanderer drifted at the edge of the Kelro system. They were waiting for clearance to dock and unload their cargo. Jake was in his quarters reading reports when his communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Cooper, called him to the bridge. "Captain," Cooper said. His voice was tight with confusion. "I am picking up a distress signal. It is coming from inside Sector 0. Jake was moving before Cooper finished speaking. "That is impossible. There are no authorized vessels in human territory except defense fleet ships." "I know, sir," Cooper replied, "but the signal is definitely human, and it is not military." Cooper played the audio through the bridge speakers. A woman's voice filled the command center. Static made some words hard to understand, but the terror was clear. "This is the research vessel Clark," the voice said. "Registration number HTX 7743. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Requesting immediate assistance. Our coordinates are..." The transmission cut off. Jake heard screams. The sound of metal tearing. Then nothing but static. Jake's hands clenched into fists. "Get me Earth Command. Priority Alpha." The response came fast. But instead of a military officer, Director Helen Grant appeared on the view screen. Her face was grim. "Captain Morrison," she said. "You heard the Clark's distress call. What is happening, Director? Who is attacking them?" Grant was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Something we hoped would never happen. Someone decided to test whether the Council's fear is justified." The tactical display lit up. It showed the Clark's last known position. Surrounding it were over 50 vessels. Jake recognized the signatures. Corthian warships, a significant portion of their military strength. "This does not make sense," Jake said. "The Corthians are Council members. They would not violate Sector 0. It is not an official action," Grant explained. "It is a rogue faction. Military hardliners who think the Council's fear of humanity is propaganda. They think we have been bluffing for 2 centuries. They use the Clark as bait. They want to force Earth to reveal what we can really do." Jake understood immediately. "They want to see if the doomsday weapon is real." "Yes," Grant said. "And if we do not respond, 37 civilian researchers die. The Corthian militants will know our reputation is built on lies. But if we do respond, we show the galaxy what we are capable of," Jake finished. "And the peace ends," Cooper spoke from his station. "Captain, the Clark has gone silent." "I am not detecting any life signs. Are they dead?" Jake asked. "No," Grant said. "They have been captured. The Corthians are taking the Clark back to their territory. They plan to interrogate the crew. Extract information about Earth's defenses. Then broadcast the results across the Council." "They are calling our bluff. What do we do?" Jake demanded. Grant's expression hardened. "Earth Command has authorized a response, but not the one the Corthians expect. Captain, you are being recalled to Earth immediately. Your ship is being requisitioned for a special mission." "What kind of mission?" "The kind that will remind the galaxy why they fear us." 3 days later, Jake stood in a facility buried beneath the lunar surface. The chamber was massive. At its center sat something that hurt to look at directly. The singularity projector was a sphere of impossible geometry. Its surface seemed to exist in more dimensions than Jake could perceive. Looking at it made his head ache. Director Grant stood beside him. With her was Admiral Kate Sullivan, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's defense fleet. Next to the Admiral was Dr. Paul Chen, a quantum physicist whose work was so classified that even mentioning his name was a security violation. "The Corthian militants have moved the Clark to a shipyard in their home system," Admiral Sullivan said. She gestured at a holographic display showing star charts and tactical data. "They are keeping the crew alive for now, but our intelligence says they will begin executions within 48 hours if we do not surrender." "What do they want?" Jake asked. "Complete disarmament," Grant said. "Full disclosure of all defensive capabilities. Opening Earth's territory to Council inspection. They know we will refuse. This is about proving we are powerless." Dr. Chen spoke for the first time. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "They are wrong, of course. We are not powerless. But the weapon they expect us to use, the collective consciousness field, would cause massive casualties. Every mind within 100 light years of Earth would feel the activation. Some would die. Most would be permanently changed. It is a weapon we built to face extinction, not to rescue 37 people. So we use the singularity projector instead, Jake said. Not exactly, Chen replied. He gestured and the holographic display changed to show complex mathematical equations. We have been developing something new, a focused application of singularity technology. Instead of consuming everything in an area, we can create precision spatial anomalies. Think of it as a scalpel instead of a hammer. Jake studied the equations even though most of them meant nothing to him. You are going to teleport the Clark out of Korthian space. Close, Chen said. We are going to fold space so the Clark exists in two places simultaneously, in the Korthian shipyard and here in lunar orbit. Then we collapse the fold, keeping the version that is here. From the Korthian perspective, the Clark will simply cease to exist. That should be impossible, Jake said. Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Yes, it should be. That is exactly the point. Admiral Sullivan turned to Jake. Captain, the Wanderer has been equipped with a portable quantum field generator. You will take your ship into Korthian space. Get as close to the Clark as possible. Activate the field. It will create the local conditions necessary for Dr. Chen's team to perform the spatial fold from here. The Korthians will detect your ship. They will try to stop you. This is a volunteer mission. Jake did not hesitate. When do we leave? Immediately, the Admiral said. And Captain, once you activate that field, the Korthians will know our reputation is earned. There will be no going back. The galaxy will have to face what we really are. Jake thought about the 37 people aboard the Clark. Scientists and explorers caught in a political game they did not understand. He thought about the Jarn fleet erased from existence 2 centuries ago. He thought about the fear in every alien's eyes when humanity was mentioned. Good, he said. Let them see. Let them know we are not bluffing. We have never been bluffing. The stars whisper our name in fear because we earned that fear. It is time to remind the galaxy why. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Then God help us all, Captain. Because after tonight everything changes. Jake returned to the Wanderer with a device that looked like a metal briefcase. Inside was technology that Dr. Chen said would create localized quantum instability. Jake did not fully understand how it worked. He just knew that when he activated it, space itself would become malleable. Reality would become soft enough for Earth scientists to reach across 100 light years and rewrite the rules. His crew had been briefed on the mission. Most of them were volunteers who had joined after learning the truth about humanity's capabilities. They knew this might be a one-way trip. They knew the Korthians might destroy them before they could activate the field. But they also knew that 37 innocent people needed rescue. That was enough. Cooper ran final checks on their systems. We are ready, Captain, he said. Then take us to Korthia, Jake ordered. Let us show them what happens when they threaten humans. The Wanderer jumped into hyperspace. Jake sat in his command chair and thought about what was coming. In a few hours, he would activate a device that would let Earth scientists perform impossible physics. They would reach across the galaxy and pull the Clark to safety. They would prove beyond doubt that humanity's reputation was deserved. And after that, nothing would be the same. The galaxy's careful dance around human territory would end. The comfortable lies would shatter. Every species would have to confront the terrifying truth that humanity could break reality whenever they needed to. Jake found he was not afraid. He was calm, focused, ready to do what needed to be done. Maybe that was part of being human. Maybe that was the gift that made his species so dangerous. The ability to face impossible odds without flinching. The willingness to do whatever was necessary to protect their own. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear. Soon they would remember why. Soon the whisper would become a scream, and humanity would answer that scream with a demonstration of power that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. Jake Morrison smiled grimly as the Wanderer raced toward Korthian space. He was about to become part of history, part of the Rezo. The Wanderer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Korthian home system. Jake Morrison barely had time to breathe before 12 warships surrounded his vessel. Their weapons were powered and ready. Their targeting systems locked onto the Wanderer from every angle. The communication came instantly. A Korthian commander appeared on the view screen. His scales were dark red with patterns that Jake had learned meant aggression and confidence. Human vessel, the commander said. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Your rescue attempt has failed before it began. Jake kept his voice calm and steady. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to collect what belongs to us. The Korthian's laugh was harsh and grating. Your research ship and its crew are now property of the Korthian Reclamation Front. If Earth wants them back, you will meet our demands. Your species has hidden behind myths and fear for too long. We will expose the truth. We will prove that humanity's power is a lie, Lieutenant Cooper, Jake said quietly. Activate the quantum field generator. Cooper's fingers moved across his console. Field generator online. Increasing power to operational levels. The effect was immediate. Every sensor on the Korthian ships began screaming warnings. On the Wanderer's bridge, Jake felt reality shift. The air grew thick and heavy. It felt like the universe was holding its breath. Through the view screen, Jake could see the Korthian commander's expression changing. Triumph became confusion. Confusion became slowly dawning horror. What are you doing? The commander demanded. What is that field? Our sensors are showing impossible readings. Space itself is. Back on Luna, Dr. Paul Chen watched his instruments with intense focus. Quantum field established, initiating spatial fold in 3, 2, 1. The Wanderer's view screen suddenly showed two images at once. One displayed the Korthian shipyard where the Clark was docked. The other showed empty space around Luna. But both images occupied the same coordinates, the same place. Reality had folded so that two locations existed simultaneously in one spot. This is impossible, the Korthian commander whispered. His voice came through clearly despite the spatial anomaly. Matter cannot exist in two states. Physics does not allow. Human matter can, Jake interrupted. That is the difference between us and you. We do not just accept the laws of physics. We negotiate with them. We rewrite them when they do not suit our needs. Chen's voice came through Jake's earpiece. Fold is stable. Beginning extraction. Captain, you need to buy us 60 seconds, 60 seconds. Jake watched as more Korthian warships arrived. They dropped out of hyperspace in groups of 3 and 4. Within moments, there were over 30 vessels surrounding the Wanderer. The commander had recovered from his shock and was shouting orders to his fleet. Fire on the human vessel, the commander screamed. Destroy it before they complete whatever they are doing. The Korthian ships powered their weapons, energy built in their cannons. Missiles launched from their bays. But something extraordinary happened. The quantum field around the Wanderer did not just fold space. It created a bubble of altered probability, a zone where the laws of chance bent in humanity's favor. The energy weapons fired, but the beams refused to coalesce properly. They scattered into harmless light. The missiles launched, but their guidance systems could not agree on which direction was correct. They spiraled away into empty space, exploding far from their target. The Korthian commander's face showed pure terror now. What have you done to our weapons? Dr. Chen's voice came through again. 30 seconds. The fold is holding, but barely. On the view screen, the Clark began to shimmer. Its solid form became translucent like a ghost. The Korthian soldiers surrounding it backed away in fear. They were watching their prize fade from existence, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Stop them! The commander screamed. Board that ship. Establish a quantum anchor. Do something, but there was nothing to do. Humanity had spent 200 years understanding the weapon that saved them from the Jarn. They had refined it, focused it, turned a blunt instrument of annihilation into a tool of precision, and now across 100 light-years they were rewriting quantum states one carefully controlled particle at a time. 10 seconds, Chen said. 9, 8. The Clark was almost completely transparent. Through its fading hull, Jake could see the crew inside. 37 people who had no idea that their existence was currently being disputed by two different versions of reality. People who did not know that Earth scientists were deciding which version of them would be real. 3, 2, 1. Collapse. Reality snapped back. The fold disappeared. The Clark vanished from the Korthian shipyard like it had never been there at all. Simultaneously in lunar orbit around Earth, the research vessel materialized fully solid and real. Its crew was confused but alive and safe. Jake allowed himself a brief smile before addressing the Korthian commander. The alien's scales had gone pale gray. His breathing was rapid and shallow. You wanted proof that humanity's reputation was deserved, Jake said. You wanted to know if our capabilities were real. Now you know. We just reached across 100 light-years and took back what was ours without firing a single shot. We altered causality itself. We decided that the Clark was always in Earth orbit and never in your shipyard. We did not destroy your facility. We did not kill your soldiers. We simply edited the universe to say they never captured our ship in the first place." The commander was silent. His entire body trembled. "Here is what happens now," Jake continued. "You contact the Galactic Council. You confess what your faction did. You explain that you violated Sector 0, that you attacked a civilian vessel, that you forced humanity to demonstrate our capabilities. Then you hope the Council's punishment is the worst thing that happens to you." "What do you mean?" the commander asked. His voice was barely audible. "I mean that Earth Command is having a conversation right now," Jake said. "They are discussing whether your attack constitutes an extinction-level threat to humanity, because if they decide it does, the quantum field generator we just used for rescue can be repurposed for annihilation. We can reach your homeworld from here. We can fold space so that Korthia exists simultaneously in your star system and inside your sun. Then we collapse the fold, leaving only the version that is burning." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "The stars whisper our name in fear because we have proven we will rewrite reality to survive. Do not give us a reason to prove we will rewrite it for revenge." The transmission ended. Jake cut the connection. The Korthian ships remained frozen in space as the Wanderer turned and prepared to jump back to Earth. Cooper spoke from his station. "Captain, we are receiving dozens of transmissions. Other Korthian vessels. They are requesting clarification on what just happened." "Ignore them," Jake ordered. "Set course for Earth. Our work here is done." As the Wanderer entered hyperspace, Jake sat back in his chair. His hands were shaking slightly. The adrenaline was fading now, leaving behind exhaustion and the weight of what they had just accomplished. They had saved 37 people. That was good. That was worth celebrating. But they had also demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity's power was real and terrifying. Every species would see the recordings. Every government would analyze what happened. Every military strategist would try to understand the implications, and they would all reach the same conclusion. Humanity could not be threatened, could not be challenged, could not be contained by conventional means, because when humans felt endangered, they did not just fight with weapons. They fought by making the universe itself comply with their needs. Jake thought about the Jarn fleet erased from existence 2 centuries ago. He thought about the quantum field connecting 8 billion human minds. He thought about the weapons sleeping beneath Luna, waiting for the next time they were needed. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear. After tonight, the whisper would be louder, more urgent, more widespread. Every civilization would reinforce the boundaries of Sector 0. Every fleet would give human territory an even wider berth, and humanity would continue living at the center of that exclusion zone, protected by reputation, defended by capabilities that broke the laws of physics, isolated but safe. Jake wondered if that was enough. If safety bought through fear was real safety. If a peace maintained by terror could last forever. He did not have answers. He just knew that 37 people were alive who would have been dead. He knew that the Korthian militants had learned a lesson about threatening humans. He knew that the galaxy would remember this day for a very long time. The Wanderer raced through hyperspace toward home. Behind them, the Korthian fleet slowly dispersed. Ships returned to their bases. Commanders filed reports that would make their way up the chain of command. And somewhere in the Korthian government, officials began composing an apology to the Galactic Council. Because they understood now. They understood what the Council had known for 2 centuries. That humanity was different, dangerous, capable of things that should not be possible. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear, and after tonight they would whisper it louder than ever before. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue of the Clark. Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense station and watched his home planet turn slowly below him. From this height he could see the curve of continents, the blue of oceans, the white swirl of clouds moving across the surface. It looked peaceful, beautiful, harmless. But Jake knew better now. He knew what slept beneath that peaceful surface. The weapons, the quantum field generators, the collective consciousness that could wake if humanity ever felt threatened enough. Earth was not harmless. It was the most dangerous place in the known galaxy. Director Helen Grant stood beside him at the observation window. She gazed at the same view with an expression Jake could not quite read. "The Council has officially censured the Korthian Reclamation Front," Grant said. "The commanders have been arrested. The Corthian government has issued a formal apology. Sector Zero's borders have been reinforced with Council peacekeepers. Nobody is talking about testing our boundaries anymore. But the damage is done, Jake said. The galaxy saw what we can do. The fear is not a whisper now. No, Grant agreed. It is louder. More widespread. 3 more civilizations have requested formal non-aggression pacts with Earth. 5 others have asked for alliance treaties. Everyone wants to make sure they are on humanity's good side. Jake watched a communications satellite drift past below them. Are we the good guys, Director? After everything I have learned, everything I have done, I am not sure anymore. Grant was quiet for a long moment. She seemed to be choosing her words carefully. We are survivors, Captain. We are the species that looked at extinction and said no. We are the ones who break the laws of physics when those laws do not suit us. Whether that makes us good or evil depends on what we do with the power we have. And what are we going to do with it? Jake asked. Continue what we have always done, Grant replied. Keep to ourselves. Maintain the quarantine zone. Show the galaxy we are not interested in conquest or domination. Let them fear us, but also let them see the fear is unnecessary, as long as they leave us in peace. Jake thought about the 37 researchers from the Clark. They were back with their families now. Safe, alive, unaware of the price that had been paid for their rescue, unaware that their salvation had required breaking reality itself. The stars whisper our name in fear, Jake said quietly. Yes, Grant agreed. And as long as they only whisper, as long as they respect the boundaries we have set, everyone gets to keep existing in a universe where the rules are still mostly stable. That is the deal we have made with reality. We will not break it unless we absolutely have to. Jake nodded slowly. He was beginning to accept the burden of knowledge he would carry for the rest of his life. Earth hung below them, a blue marble wrapped in invisible quantum fields and impossible weapons. A world that had proven twice now that humanity's survival instinct was stronger than the laws of physics. And across the galaxy, in 47 different civilizations, things were changing. Fleet commanders were adjusting their routes to give Sector Zero an even wider berth. Politicians were drafting stricter protocols about human contact. Military academies were teaching new lessons about the dangers of underestimating humanity. Parents were telling their children stories about the species that could edit reality when threatened. Jake had received messages from other human ship captains. Some were confused about the sudden increase in alien nervousness around them. Others reported that negotiations had become easier because every species seemed desperate to keep humans happy. A few had noticed that certain star systems were now completely off limits to human vessels because local governments did not want to risk any incidents. Lieutenant Amy Carter had sent him a message too. She was still on her research vessel studying stellar formations. Her message was brief. I heard what you did. I heard you saved the Clark. I am glad you did it even though I know what it cost. I am still not ready to come back. Maybe I never will be, but I am proud of you, Jake. Stay safe. Jake had not replied yet. He was not sure what to say. How do you tell someone that saving lives had required threatening an entire planet with annihilation? How do you explain that breaking physics was becoming routine? A chime sounded. Grant checked her datapad and smiled slightly. The Clark's crew is holding a ceremony tomorrow. They want to thank the people who rescued them. You are invited, Captain. Will they know the truth? Jake asked. Will they understand what we did? No, Grant said. They will be told a cover story. A conventional rescue operation. They do not need to carry this burden. Let them believe in a simpler universe. Jake understood. Some truths were too heavy. Some knowledge changed people in ways that could not be undone. Better to let most of humanity live in comfortable ignorance. Better to let them think the galaxy avoided Earth out of respect rather than terror. I will attend, Jake said. They deserve to know someone cares. Grant turned to leave but paused at the doorway. Captain Morrison, she said, what you did out there was necessary. Do not doubt that. Those 37 people are alive because you were brave enough to face the Corthians. Because you were willing to activate a device that could have killed you. History will remember you as a hero even if most of history will never know the full story. After she left, Jake remained at the observation window. He watched Earth turn below him and thought about the future. What would happen now that the galaxy knew humanity's power was real? Would the peace hold? Would the fear keep other species away? Or would someone eventually decide that humanity was too dangerous to leave alone? He thought about the quantum field generator still broadcasting its signal, about 8 billion human minds loosely connected through invisible threads, about what would happen if that connection was amplified to full power again. 17,000 people had died last time. How many would die next time? How many times could humanity break reality before something broke permanently? Jake did not have answers. He just knew that he was now part of the system that maintained humanity's defense. He had activated the quantum field. He had helped fold space across 100 light years. He had threatened an entire planet with destruction. He was complicit in everything that made the galaxy fear his species, and he would do it again if he had to. That was the terrible truth he was learning to accept. When it came to protecting humanity, there were no lines he would not cross, no laws of physics he would not break, no threats he would not make. Maybe that was what made humans so dangerous. Not the weapons, not the technology, but the absolute unwillingness to accept defeat, the stubborn refusal to go quietly into extinction, the willingness to burn down the universe rather than surrender. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear. They whispered it in Corthian war rooms and Vryn trading posts. They whispered it in Delphi underwater cities and in the crystal palaces of species Jake had never met. They whispered it everywhere that intelligent life looked up at the sky and wondered what else was out there. And humanity heard those whispers. They heard the fear and the respect and the desperate desire to never anger the species that could rewrite reality. They heard it and they knew that isolation was the price of safety, that the containment zone around Earth was not a prison, but a buffer, a space where humanity could exist without constantly threatening everyone around them. Jake Morrison would return to his freight routes eventually. He would haul cargo between star systems. He would trade with aliens who feared him without understanding why. He would live a mostly normal life. But he would always know the truth. Always understand what humanity really was: survivors, rule breakers, reality hackers. The species that looked at the impossible and made it possible through sheer stubborn determination. The species that would do absolutely anything to protect their own. The observation deck's lights dimmed automatically as Earth rotated into its night cycle. Half the planet below fell into shadow. But even in darkness, Jake could see lights, cities, billions of people living their lives, falling in love and raising children and dreaming about the future. People who had no idea they were part of a collective consciousness that could wake at any moment. People who did not know they lived on the most feared world in the galaxy. Maybe that was okay. Maybe they did not need to know. Maybe the burden of knowledge should only fall on people like Jake and Grant and Dr. Chen, people who could carry it without breaking. The stars whispered humanity's name in fear, and Jake Morrison stood watch, ready to make sure that whisper never became a scream. Ready to activate the quantum field again if needed, ready to fold space or threaten planets or break whatever laws of physics stood between humanity and survival. Because that was what humans did. They survived. No matter what it cost, no matter what it required, no matter how much the universe itself had to bend to accommodate them, the galaxy was right to fear them. Right to whisper. Right to stay far away from Sector Zero. Because humanity had proven beyond all doubt that they were the exception to every rule. The species that negotiated with reality itself, and as long as the whispers remained quiet, as long as the boundaries were respected, the fragile peace would hold. The universe would continue operating under mostly normal physics, and humanity would remain at the center of their exclusion zone, isolated but safe, feared but unharmed. Jake turned away, half